Had there ever been a time where you wished to be transported into another world? To escape this reality governed by a cruel mistress called life. Cultured people would call it being isekai'd. Oh, the magnificent adventures filled with danger and obstacles that have killed many heroes in the past. But here you arrive, summoned by the gods themselves and gifted with basically overpowered abilities as you are tasked to defeat the Demon King and put an end to the war that has been plaguing their world for millennia. Accompanied by your party members who are suspiciously all females, a princess who seeks to protect her people, her best friend who tagged along to keep her safe, a cleric who is obviously ill-suited for combat, and a mysterious woman who might be your daughter from the future. And somehow all of them somewhere along the journey fall in love with you as you save them from demons, monsters, and their own past, basically achieving the harem ending of the stereotypical eroges you might find littered around the R18 section of any game store. You travel along the continent slaying dragons and demons, and establish alliances with other countries. After completing many quests, saving an unending amount of villages, and collecting every single legendary weapon in existence, is when you finally arrive in front of the Demon King's palace. You and your harem members, through the power of love and friendship, are finally able to kill the Demon King. In the end, you become the future king, with the princess now as your queen and the others as your mistresses living happily ever after. That was definitely what Zamokusa's wet dreams would be like. And not that I would ever admit it, but it was definitely what my past Chuny self would pray for every night. Ah, the memories of my past still made me cringe with disgust and embarrassment. Like, past me, could you not have been any more pathetic? No, scratch that, it could have been worse, and it was worse. Why, you might ask? Well, the infamous loner of Sobu High, house husband in training, and brother to the bestest and cutest sister in existence, Komachi, Hikigaya Hachiman, was now lying down in a comfortable bed, as a baby. What? Why? How? At first, I thought it was a prank. My day started out as usual, Komachi nearly killing my eardrums trying to wake me up for school, eating breakfast while listening to the daily news. Not that it interested me very much, but I did like to keep myself informed, or at least not so out of touch with our wage slave creating country's current state. Okay, I was getting off track here. Anyways, after breakfast, I would ride my bike to Sobu High, arrive early for my Japanese class, then join Yukinoshita and Uegahama for club activities which mostly involved me reading a light novel or something. Nothing out of the ordinary yet, so what happened? A white light. That is all that came to mind, a bright flash. It was abrupt, sudden, and without warning. At first, I thought that I had fallen unconscious for some reason. It couldn't have been my health. Despite what others might see from afar, me with my hunched posture and my stick-like limbs, I was in fact quite fit, with formed pecs and the whole package, which had been the result of all the hard labor and my overly active schedule during these last few hellish months. Never tried nor bothered to show them off in the first place, unlike your regular normie who would have posted a library's worth of pictures on his profile with him shirtless on the beach. I never liked the attention in the first place. Even Komachi would complain about it sometimes. I was getting off topic again. All that mattered was that I couldn't be physically unhealthy since I was in great shape to begin with. It was when I first opened my eyes that I noticed something off about the situation. First of all, I felt weak. It was as if I spent an entire day running around town while injecting pure max coffee directly into my veins, ultimately feeling its repercussions the next day. My surroundings were different. This was not the infirmary nor my house. The room was unfamiliar, filled with toys, pillows, and cartoon drawings on the wall. Have I been kidnapped and detained into a nursery room, of all places? It was then that I noticed another major issue which made me fully realize my current predicament: my hands. Not my regular hands, but rather a pair of cute, small, and pudgy hands fit for a baby. That was when all hell broke loose. 4 years later, things finally calmed down a bit. Living in a baby's body for 3 years without being able to do much left me alone with my thoughts for most of my time. I had not come to terms with my situation. To do so would have been no different than accepting my death and moving on, but I couldn't and wouldn't. I still wanted to go back. I wanted to hear the constant nagging of Komachi again, the upbeat and joyful cheers of Uegahama, the cold stares from the Ice Queen herself, and be comforted by the sweet angel Tatsuka. Heck, I was so desperate that I even longed to see a familiar face like Hayama and the she-devil herself. Many times have I cried and despaired at the possibility of never seeing them again. I knew about my situation. I'd seen enough times in anime and read plenty light novels to know that reuniting with my precious sister and friends again was nearly impossible. But nearly was not a certainty, and I would rather believe that even a slim possibility existed somewhere. To stop myself from going down a darker path, I kept telling my mind that I would eventually meet them again or that they were possibly in the same situation as me. It helped for now, but I don't know for how long I could distract myself from the truth unless I found a solution. The first thing I found out was that I was still Japanese. Many signs led me to that conclusion, such as the television featuring channels from Japan, me being surrounded by Japanese literature, and also my parents speaking the language. Speaking of parents, I finally got to know their names, as well as mine. How was it possible for me to spend my first year without even knowing my name and that of my parents, you might ask? Well, who else calls out their loved ones or family members with their full name in a normal conversation, dumbass? I got to sit by and endure all the cheek-grabbing, cooing, and unnecessary name-calling like, little angel, my precious, woobly-doobly, and the names just keep on getting worse. It was only through pretending to sleep that I overheard my parents having a normal adult conversation. Surprisingly and unbelievably, I was reborn under the Hikigaya household again. And surprise surprise, the eighth number blessed my life again. My father, apparently, was your regular blue-collar office worker, spending most of his days working, Hikigaya Suichiro. While my mother worked around the house and took the role of housewife, Igarashi Chiasa, or Hikigaya Chiasa now. Hikigaya Hachiman reborn as Hikigaya Hachiman. I was generally never a strong believer in faith, but this convinced me that someone up there was messing with my life, or lives, at this point. Not wanting to seem strange or different from the others, I kept my vocabulary at a minimum to avoid suspicion from my parents. Hopefully this would deter them from thinking that I was a genius baby or something stupid like that. Ain't no way I would become a normie or a raiju. Being locked in a social cage with everyone labeling me a genius and predetermining my future is something that I would rather avoid. Besides, how hard could it be acting as a regular toddler? Hard, super hard. Curse my past self for jinxing me in the present, may he die as a normie. I completely forgot a crucial factor that was present to all kids my age, preschool. Being surrounded constantly by snot-nosed kids creating a ruckus, I could feel my heart almost giving up from their constant chaotic nature. Kuo kindergarten, a non-stop chaotic battlefield. Kuo, that is the other thing I found out. Granted I was not the best in geography, but I certainly would have noticed or remembered such a large town in modern Japan, not to speak of its highly coveted status of having one of the best schools in the country, Kuo Academy, but alas, it was for girls only. This just further cemented how far away from home I was. Nay, Hikima, come play with me. Now there was my other source of trouble. A parasite that refused to leave me alone, even when I shot her my distinctive dead fish eyes look that has made many of my classmates break down in tears and calling me meanie or ugly. Truly, kids were the most brutally honest people. Guess what, you bunch of amateurs, I have come prepared with one of the 108 skills in my arsenal, insult invincibility. Nothing could hurt me, except her. Himahima Akano. She was a cute kid. If I was my normal age again, I would no doubt squish her chubby cheeks and empty out a nearby convenience store of its candies, just like I used to do with Komachi. Just being around her triggers my brotherly instincts to their limit. But as a kid myself, it was a whole other story. Oh, don't get me wrong, I didn't hate the girl. She was a small kid, for crying out loud. But for some reason, she always found it fun hanging out with me. No matter how many times I told her to go away, or how many times I tried to scare her with my glare, or just plain ignore her, she still clung to me like a damn koala. Hikima, you're ignoring me again, cried out the little girl. She was pouting, trying to put on an angry face, but it only made her look like a small adorable puppy. Hey, chubby cheeks. I couldn't resist the temptation, so I pinched her cheeks and put on a regular deadpan face. Sorry little one, I was lost in my thoughts for a bit there. Stop pewing ma cheeks. Finally pitying her, I let go and apologized. Again, sorry, but you are just too cute sometimes. Her face grew red and she meekly looked down the floor, trying to hide her shyness. Stupid Hikima, why don't you go play with the others? They certainly won't deny your presence, unlike me. I asked. Many of these kids wouldn't mind a new addition to their social circle. It was how kids were. No unnecessary drama, no hiding behind a mask, and no harsh judging with malicious intent. It took a few seconds for her to understand what I meant. I guess my vocabulary was a bit too high for kids my age, gotta be careful around adults before they noticed it. But when she got the general meaning, her answer did surprise me. I just want to play with you, Hikima. You are very lonely and have no friends. But I want to be your friend and play with you so that you won't be lonely anymore, she replied. Lonely? Huh, I guess I was, considering everything that happened. Creating new bonds is a needless challenge and was nothing but a complete waste of time and effort. People naturally tended to drift apart as they grow up, this would be no different. So, come with me and let's play together. I guess it wouldn't hurt to try. For now. Akeno 3rd Pav. School is so boring. That was Himahima Akeno's thought when she first attended her class. She always felt safe at the shrine, where she lived with her mother and father, both whom have taught her so many fun and interesting things. The former demonstrated how to carry out the numerous chores and duties expected of a future Miko. Cleaning, cooking, and even learning how to purify wandering spirits are all taught to her. She genuinely enjoyed every minute of it. Even some would find the idea of doing chores boring, and her mother always had a bright smile on her face whenever they were together. But her favorite activity so far had been tea making, which she excelled in, much to her mother's joy. Her father never spoke much, preferring to sit back and observe them as they went about their Miko duties. Many visitors avoided him because of his frightening appearance, but her mother assured her that he was just a big snuffy teddy bear on the inside. He taught her how to use holy lightning, a type of magic that only the two of them possessed. He always smiled when he was around her and her mother and gave big booming laughs when she successfully achieved a spell. At first, I was a bit apprehensive at using it. The loud noise of thunder and its destructive nature always scared me when I was not focusing. But father showed me how to control and not fear it. According to him, I am a natural with holy lighting. But then came school. Akeno hated it at first. She was away from both her mother and father, and she was forced to play with strangers. She was even banned from using her powers on the kids. Humph, the boys are so annoying, I wish I could just zap them away. Akeno always wanted to try using her lightning on someone, but her parents told her otherwise and that she would have been in big trouble if she ever tried. Every day was the same old boring routine. The only time of the day she would enjoy was when the teachers would start their lessons on how to read and write. But then everything changed when she met Hikiki Himiki Hikaku Hikigaya Hachiman. He has a really difficult name to remember, so she just called him Hikima. He was different from the rest, just like her. It was obvious that he didn't like the place and the other kids at all. Furthermore, she found him to be a quiet, a loner, and that he had the scariest looking eyes that reminded her of a dead fish she had seen at the market with her mother yesterday. Trying to approach him was not easy. He would tell her to go away, but of course, she didn't want to. He was the only interesting person in her school, and she wanted to get to know him, so she followed him around. Hikima obviously didn't like it and tried glaring at her, probably to scare her off. Remember Akeno, those who have the scariest eyes are softies on the inside, just like your father Fufufufu. Yes, really soft. She remembered her mother's words and how they made her father's face all red. So every time he glared at her with his dead fish eyes, she would then be reminded of her father, thus making her feel safer around him. He also happened to be super smart. Half of the time he would use difficult words and make it hard for her to understand him, but she persisted. And in the end, it seemed that he just gave up chasing her off and instead would resort to pinching her cheeks. It turned out to be super embarrassing and no amount of protest would stop him from doing that, but she still grew to love her time with him and how nice it felt when he touched her face. It made her feel warm. Maybe she could invite him to the shrine so that they could spend more time together and get more of that warm feeling. He could become friends with father too since they both have scary faces. Nay, Hikima, come play with me. Break. 1 year later, Hachiman Pav. I sighed in despair. What a drag. That was what a certain pineapple head ninja in a certain ninja manga I used to read would say, and now I understood why he said it. I could say for certain that I have never, until this moment, ever felt so relatable with the guy. How else could I not? I was in my last year of kindergarten and would soon start elementary. Which in itself was a huge sort of stress, having already done and passed all of these classes in my past life and nearly graduating. Having to restart everything from zero really put a damper on my mood, not that my mood was great, to begin with, but you get my point. Honestly, How did those other isekai or reincarnated protagonists in other stories deal with such stuff? I am no genius, and it's not like I will remember every subject by heart. Math, chemistry, and even my Japanese will get rusty. A 5-year-old boy suddenly starting to study integrals and differentiation out of nowhere was a big red flag. I may have an additional goal of returning to my real family, but that did not change my past goals at all. I knew that in the end, I would have to get used to this world, grow up, train my skills, find a woman who will accept me as a house husband, and improvise from there. But first I had to focus on the current issue, specifically with the matters concerning my friend, Akeno. Wow, it felt weird for an adult, at least mentally, to call a 5-year-old girl a friend. I swear that I'm innocent. We got along together quite nicely. Our daily interactions mostly consisted of her dragging me around to play with her or to participate in tea ceremonies, which was mostly juice as hot beverages were banned for kids our age. She was a natural and also genuinely enjoyed doing it. Akeno would talk to me about her family, how she and her mother were Maikos and her father was apparently an important leader of some kind. A politician then, Hikima, shouted Akeno, as the little girl glomped on me from behind, knocking me out of my thoughts. Oh, yeah, she was talking about something. I realized, most of the time whenever she started rambling on, I would just daze off in my thoughts. Guess it was bad timing, better apologize. Sorry Akeno, I didn't pay attention. Could you repeat that? She started pouting again, making her look cute. Hikima, you are being mean again. Mother always said that boys should always pay attention when a woman talks. Woman, where? I snickered at my thoughts, only this time getting a small punch on my forearm, which actually hurt. How the hell was this cute little munchkin so strong? Hikima, her voice was getting louder, better stop before the teachers begin with the married couple jokes again. Honestly, they needed to get a life. There'd be no way I would marrying this child. Again, I was just laughing cause you look too cute when you get angry. Her face goes all red, making me grin. Ah, she blushed, my brotherly instincts were pushing me to hug her and never let go. Mini hi Hikima, I was just asking if you want to visit my parents' shrine with me, she asked with a not so hidden hopeful look after she stopped blushing. A shrine you say? Yeah, I guess I could go for a visit as, unlike the others, she was the closest thing to a friend I had in this world. And also because I was curious how people lived in a shrine. I rarely ever visited one, most of the time, it was just to pray during festivals and holidays with Komachi, and in some rare cases with mom and dad. Speaking of friends, despite only being a 5-year-old kid, she still somehow garnered the attention of nearly half the kids in my class. Some of them who wanted to be close with her have offered to become my friends too. Yeah right, even with their innocence their friendship would still be fake in the end. Fake friends are like shadows. They followed you in the sun but left you in the dark. For my sake and Akeno's, I always ignored them, never giving them the slightest bit of attention. Akeno, being the koala she was, copied my actions as well. I did not want to meddle with her life much, but she really did not give me the choice to back up. Truly for a 5-year-old, she was quite persistent. I honestly couldn't imagine what she would be like in her teenage years. She might probably just be your regular girl next door. A slight chill crept from my spine with that thought. Sumbo, a part of me refused to believe that thought. Break Himahima Shrine, Barakil Pav, Akeno will be inviting someone today, thought a worried Barakil. A few days ago, his sweet little fallen angel told him that a friend would visit them soon enough. He had rarely seen her this happy before. She even asked Shuri to let her cook some meals for her friend. Both of them were amused by her antics but didn't stop her. Their daughter's happiness was their happiness as well. It was not until he asked for more details about these friends that all his enthusiasm vanished the moment his daughter told them more about him. Yes, him, as in a boy, a male. What kind of joke was this? His little fallen was too young to be meeting with boys. He might be an angel who fell due to lust, but that did not mean he would let his daughter be close with a boy. I swear when he arrives, I'll show that punk to stay darling Tilda. The world stopped dead in its tracks, his veins became pure ice as he felt the presence of his beloved yet fearsome wife behind him. Shuri's smile was both gorgeous and innocent, but her eyes were no different from a frozen tundra. What is this I am hearing about scaring Akeno's friend? She inquired, very much knowing the answer already. And nothing dear, I just want to make sure that the boy doesn't hurt Akeno's feelings by accident. We wouldn't want that, right? This was the most logical explanation he could come up with currently, but it failed to save his skin. Era tilde brave enough to already start lying to your wife, are we? Foo, I guess I will have to whip those bad thoughts out of you tonight, right? He was reminded of why he loved his Shuri so much, again. She was the best wife and mother one could ask for. She knew how to press his buttons. And he liked it. Yes, dear, even with his straight face, he couldn't hide the blush from his soon-to-be mistress. Her sadistic nature was truly the best. Hatchim and Pav getting permission from my parents to visit a faraway shrine was easier than I expected. Even with my dad occupied with his work, Mom was still cool enough to let her small child go outside with a stranger to an unknown shrine in the mountains. If that wasn't top-tier parenting, then I did not know what was. But hey, not going to complain about it, and I trust Akeno enough for us to not get in trouble along the way. After all, I didn't see myself as some 2-bit anime protagonist who encountered enemies in every street corner. The road leading to the shrine was steep. I was certain that even in my past body I would have been constantly winded trying to walk up a mountain. The current me was drenched in sweat, my knees were weak and my arms were heavy. But fortunately I didn't have the urge to vomit, yet. Akeno was not normal, she didn't look even the slightest bit tired from all the walking and climbing. Could this girl be a future gold medalist? I was pretty sure that this was the type of road every Asian parent used to travel to reach their school. After another painful 15 minutes of walking, we finally reached the shrine hidden deep into the woods. It was beautiful, it had a sort of mystical aspect to it. For something so far away, it was surprisingly well kept. Its greatest quality so far was that it was quiet and peaceful. No wonder Akeno loved her home so much. If I had the opportunity, I would not hesitate to live here, not that Mom or Dad would accept selling the house in the middle of the city for a secluded life in the middle of the woods, to begin with. In front of the shrine, I noticed someone sweeping the floor with a straw broom. Akeno never told me she had a sister. Like seriously, they might as well have been twins with how much they looked alike. I guessed now I had an idea what Akeno would look like when she grew up. She was a beautiful woman who has long flowing black hair, and light brown eyes. Again she really resembled Akeno, aside from the purple eyes. Mother, I brought my friend Hikigi Hikima with me, said an excited Akeno. Oi, we have been together in the same class for a year, and you still can't say my nom, did she say, mother? She looked like she was in her early 20s, for crying out loud. Did she give birth to Akeno when she was still a teenager? Stop, this was not the time to think about random stuff right now. Might as well give a good image of myself, if it was even possible with my looks. Era tilde, such a cute little boy we have here, she said in an angelic voice, with a beautiful smile to match it. Many would fall for such a beautiful face, however. There comes the shiver, but 1,000 times worse, accompanied by a sense of impending doom. Is that you, Yukinoshita Haruno? Did that she-devil somehow find a way to track me down across another reality and reincarnate here just to torture me? Probably not, and I was most likely over-exaggerating things, but with that woman, you never know. Hikigaya Hachiman would not be defeated with just a pretty face and soothing voice from an older-looking version of his friend. Curse you, Zamokuza, to the deepest pits of hell. I never should have read those forbidden love novels you recommended to me before. I did not want to have a crush on her, it felt so weird thinking about it. All of this happened while I kept a straight face, but somehow this woman gave me the feeling that she could see right through me. Her face and demeanor might be the perfect representation of a Yamato Nadeshiko, but her eyes resembled that of a surgeon's scalpel, able to slice right through me. Hiding my conflicting emotions, I gave her my sincerest greeting. Good evening, my name is Hikigaya Hachiman, and I am a friend of Himahima-san from school. Not too formal yet not too rude, just right. A polite one as well. Now isn't that a rare sight, foo. She came forward and rubbed my head. It felt weird especially when you were a grown-ass man inside a kid's body, but I didn't hate it. Come along inside, Akeno and I have some things to attend to in the kitchen. Why don't you spend some time with my husband? He is a delightful man. For some reason, I felt that there was a hidden meaning somewhere between those lines. After being invited inside, I then came face to face with a giant scary-looking dude who was apparently Akeno's dad. He has the appearance of a middle-aged, gruff-looking man with black hair, a matching beard, and a muscular body. Aside from his eye color, he had no other features passed on to Akeno. Thank God that she mostly inherited her mother's genes, or else I would have had a female Hulk as my first friend, not a bad thing, but it would be weird. For the last few minutes, he kept staring at me in the eyes, his face not betraying the slightest bit of emotions. The same could be said for me as well. Making use of one of 108 loner skills, the stone face technique, I was successful at maintaining a constant deadlocked state against my current opponent. Why was he giving me the silent treatment in the first place? I couldn't have angered him about something since I never met him before. Was it because of his daughter? This guy can't honestly feel threatened by a 5-year-old, can he? I prided myself in my ability to read people in general, but this guy was somehow showing even fewer emotions than a rock. If it weren't for the fact that I could hear his breathing, I would have definitely mistaken him for a painted statue. The deadlock went for a few more minutes, until he finally relented. Hey, you think you could beat me in a staring contest? Even Yukinoshita could not contend with me, let alone you. But the first words that came out of his mouth really threw me out of the loop. I approve, he said in a rough voice. What, take care of her? Shit,